It is Tuesday, Yid Gimel Nissen Tufshim Pai Vuf on Edge, March 31st, 2026, and it's Erev Bedikas Chumetz. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I'm your host on Edge.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
The assassin's bullet doesn't match the rifle in Charlie Kirk's murder. An American journalist was just kidnapped by Hezbollah terrorists in Iraq, Baghdad. Besides that, Trump is positive the war is coming to an end. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz just ordered that all houses on the border of Lebanon and Israel shall be destroyed. And defeated Iran can't even beat the US Army, so they're coming for your Apple and Tesla instead. Also, I do know that some of you have asked if there are some updates with the Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping case, and of course, the war in Pakistan and Afghanistan, some of you asked. So, wait until the very end, and I will give you some interesting updates on those. Now, as the war enters its second month, the United States and Israel carried out massive bombings across Iran last night. American and Israeli fighter jets worked together very hard to drop heavy 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs on the city of Isfahan last night. They did it with the B-2 bombers, right? They hit an Iranian nuclear site and an underground missile base, causing huge explosions that destroyed munitions and weapons, and it caused huge fires that people saw that on satellite images. It could be seen from space. Now, if you know the magnificent, if you know the magnitude of that, you understand what that looks like. Israel also bombed military targets right inside the capital of the city of Tehran. Now, capital city of Tehran, sorry. The Israeli strikes were so heavy that they knocked out the power in several neighborhoods. They also now just struck a massive steel plant in Iran as well. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth gave a major update from the Pentagon this morning at 8 a.m. He said the military has bombed more than 11,000 Iranian targets in the last 30 days. Now, he confirmed that the American military carried out 200 sudden strikes last night alone, destroying another major command bunker. Hegseth described a very harsh reality for Iranian leaders. He said they are forced to run away with no water, no power, and no oxygen. He then added that they no longer feel safe hiding in their underground caves. He gave a strong warning saying, President Trump means what he says, and he does not back down. You can ask Khamenei about that. Where is he now? Even with these heavy attacks, Iran quickly struck back in several areas. Iranian drones hit a fully loaded Kuwaiti oil tanker. They also fired cluster bombs, those bombs that break apart mid-air into central Israel. 6 people were injured, sadly. They say 8, including a mother and her 2 children. Well, lightly, they say. It has been a very busy and dangerous night in northern Israel too, from Hezbollah's side. Hezbollah fired over 40 rockets and drones into the area, into the north Israel. 3 Yidden were lightly injured by the blasts, including a 6-year-old child who was hurt by shattered window glass. Now, let's talk about your matzahs. I know it's Erev Pesach now, Erev Bedikas Chumetz. In an hour or 2, you're going to do Bedikas Chumetz, depending where you are in the world. In America, at least, I know this is an hour or 2. Now, here is my suggestion to you. You can still run into your local grocery right before Yom Tov and get yourself matzahs if they're still available. Throughout Yom Tov Pesach, Montreal matzah is the best. Now, you should remember this for next year. Montreal matzah is the best, most healthiest matzah out there. They have regular matzahs, obviously. They have extra thin matzahs, those light matzahs, easy to digest. They have also spelt matzahs, a line of whole wheat, and a line of oat matzahs for those with celiac. Now, delicious matzahs, okay? You can. They have pop-up shops every single year. This time it was in 4320 14th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Still pop by, get yourself some matzahs, and have yourself a wonderful Yom Tov with matzahs. President Donald J. Trump just gave Iran a 1-week deadline to reach a ceasefire deal. If you remember, first he gave them 5 days, then 10 days, and now a week. Maybe when a week is over, he will extend it again. I'm only kidding. Anyway, but if they refuse, he is threatening to completely destroy their power plants and water desalination plants. Those facilities, the water desalination plants that remove salt from ocean water to make it drinkable again. President Trump is now publicly threatening to deploy U.S. ground troops to physically seize Shragi Island, the beating heart of Iran's oil industry. As you know already, we reported yesterday that they already stationed with 50,000 troops, or they have a plan to have a ground operation. The war is expanding into new areas. The American embassy in Saudi Arabia is ordering all Americans to stay safely inside. This comes after an Iranian commander claimed Iran fired missiles and drones at a base housing American pilots in Saudi Arabia. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi said Tehran is fully prepared for a ground operation, a ground war with American troops. He also denied that actual peace talks are Bechlal happening, he said the last time he spoke to Steve Witkoff was before the war started. Now, Iran's terror army, the IRGC, is threatening to attack major American businesses starting tomorrow, April Fool's Day. They specifically threatened companies like Apple, Google, Boeing, and Tesla. The White House responded very quickly, saying, it's April Fool's Day, so it doesn't mean anything. I'm kidding. Saying that the American military is fully prepared to defend these companies. The American soldiers are highly motivated. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth just returned from a secret trip over the weekend to visit his troops near the Middle East. He said their spirits are the highest he's ever seen. When he asked a young soldier and young pilots what they needed, nobody asked to be sent home. Instead, they told him, "Sir, let's finish the mission. We're ready for more. Get us more bombs, bigger bombs, more targets, and let us finish this." This matches new orders from Pete Hegseth. He recently declared that enemies would receive no quarter. That is a term, a military term, meaning no prisoners will be taken and absolutely no mercy will be shown. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said today that the $1 trillion Iran spent trying to destroy America and Israel has been completely wasted. He added that while Iran can still fire missiles, they no longer threaten the existence of Israel. Netanyahu also promised to reveal new alliances against Iran very soon. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin just spoke with the President of the United Arab Emirates. Putin told him that he is seriously concerned about the ongoing war. Meanwhile, the President of Syria is traveling for official visits across Europe right now. Ahmad al-Shara, you know, the guy that used to be an Al-Qaeda terrorist, and now he is the president of Syria, supposedly taking Syria back and making it more diplomatic, traveled to London and met with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in 10 Downing Street. What is very interesting is that the United Kingdom is meeting with Syria right after President Trump publicly threatened to drop America's partnership with the UK. In fact, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth strongly criticized European countries today for refusing to help the United States, for instance, Spain and France. He pointed out that America is fighting the war to protect the free world. He said America is destroying missiles that threaten Europe, those very countries, Spain and France. But he noted that when America asks these friendly countries to simply let American jets fly through their sky, they refuse to let them pass. Hegseth warned that you do not have much of a partnership if countries refuse to stand with you when you actually need them. And Marco Rubio said the same thing, that their NATO alliances and, contracts will have to be reviewed. And especially Trump posted on Truth Social very angrily against France and Spain. He mentions France, saying that this will be remembered, he said. These Iranian leaders are deranged scumbags, he said. They have been killing innocent people all over the world for 47 years. And now I, as the 47th president, ironically, of the United States of America, am killing them. What a great honor it is to do so, he says. We now have the staggering total numbers of the damage done to Iran's military over the last month. First, just to note that they've only fired 3 ballistic missiles so far today. Well, it went down. The numbers keep on going down. So it looks like their stockpile is going down and down and down. First, the top leadership has been almost completely wiped out. This includes the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the top commander of the IRGC Navy, the Commodore Alireza Tangerine, I called him last time, and several other top generals like Ali Larijani and other ones. As for the troops on the ground, more than 6,000 Iranian military personnel have been killed. Another 15, some people say 20, have been severely wounded. As for the weapons and bases, the United States and Israel have destroyed more than 11,000 military targets. Now listen to this. More than 190 ballistic missile launchers have been completely wiped out, and Iran's air defense system is now completely shattered. Finally, the Iranian Navy is devastated. American forces have destroyed over 150 Iranian naval ships. This includes sinking their major warships, which we heard about. They torpedoed one of their ships, remember? It hasn't happened since World War II. And their massive drone-launching ship as well. New photos show the massive damage from the recent American and Israeli strikes on Tehran. Almost a dozen airplanes were destroyed right on the runway at the Mehrabad airport. The Israeli military says that in the coming days they will finish completely destroying Iran's weapon factories. They said these are the exact factories that build the weapons used against Israel, Gaza, and Lebanon. Now, to keep the pressure on, the American military is moving more ships into the area. The USS George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier just left Virginia. It is sailing to the Middle East to replace another aircraft carrier that was damaged earlier in the fighting. China and Pakistan officially just announced a joint 5-point proposal to end the war. Pakistan is acting as the mediator to try and broker peace between Washington and Tehran. Well, it's basically saying, we want you to stop fighting, and we want you to allow the Strait of Hormuz to be safely reopened again, and we want you to come to agreements and to make an agreement. So this is, it's separated somehow in 5 points. Well, good luck to that. Now in Lebanon, 4 more Israeli soldiers, Hashem Yim Kadomoy, were killed in a battle in southern Lebanon. 2 other soldiers were wounded. The Israeli army is pushing deeper into the area where Hezbollah is fighting the ground invasion. These soldiers were part of a special forces unit that scouts the area ahead of the main army. Very, very sad. Yesterday morning, the Israeli Air Force struck an apartment on the Dachia neighborhood in Beirut. Now, they killed, obviously, major generals in the IRGC and Hezbollah members. The strike left 1 person dead and 17 others wounded. But more importantly, it eliminated 3 Islamic terrorists. One of the dead is Hamza Ibrahim Rakin. That's his name. He was the deputy commander of the Unit 1800 for Hezbollah. Rakin was the main middleman between the terror group and the Palestinian terrorists organizations like Hamas. He coordinated the attacks across Lebanon, Gaza, Syria, and the West Bank. Another top Iranian aerospace officer, Saeed Ali Tavasoli, has also just been eliminated. He was a senior commander in the IRGC Aerospace Force. This is the specific branch of the Iranian terror army that builds, tests, and fires all of Iran's ballistic missiles and kamikaze drones. Yeah, taking him out is a massive blow to their ability to launch airstrikes. Now, remember yesterday I mentioned the elite Israeli ski unit? You remember that? Okay, so high up in the frozen mountains on the Lebanon-Syria border, they just launched their first alpine mission. Dressed in all white winter gear to camouflage perfectly in the deep snow, they are operating in the freezing cold. Their mission is to hunt down Iranian-backed terrorists, Hezbollah, and destroy their infrastructure in the harshest winter conditions in Israel. The military is also stopping undercover attacks on the ground. On Sunday night, Israeli forces intercepted a terror cell in southern Lebanon. The terrorists were disguised as paramedics, Hezbollah terrorists, and were using an ambulance to hide and transport weapons. Israel is now officially setting up a new 30-kilometer buffer zone inside Lebanon to stop terrorists from ever returning to the border again. As the war escalates, the United Nations is heavily condemning, well, that's what they're good at doing, Israel after 3 Indonesian UN peacekeepers died. 3. So far in 2 separate explosions in southern Lebanon. Evidence shows these peacekeepers were actually killed in logistics convoy explosion caused by the ongoing combat environment through Hezbollah, not targeted Israeli airstrikes. And also today, Israeli parliament just passed a new law bringing the death penalty for Palestinian terrorists convicted of murdering Yidden. Breaking news just came in. Like I said in the beginning, I mentioned it, but I'm bringing it now to you. There is a very concerning video coming out of Iraq today. The footage shows an American journalist named Shelley Kittleson being kidnapped on the streets of central Baghdad. She is a well-known reporter who writes for the American news outlets. Iraqi police actually chased the kidnapper's gateway car until it flipped over and then arrested 1 suspect. However, Kittleson is still missing, and Marco Rubio says officials believe an Iranian-backed terror group, Hezbollah, is responsible for taking her. The State Department is coordinating with the FBI to secure her release, and all Americans are now urged to leave Iraq immediately. The country remains at level 4 travel advisory. The war and the blocked ocean trade routes are still hurting the global markets, the global economy. With oil prices staying at very, very high, we are seeing major problems around the world today in terms of finance. Over in France, police investigated a stopped bomb attack, like we spoke about yesterday or 2 days ago, a bomb plot outside a Bank of America, outside Bank of America's building in Paris, the headquarters. They believe Iran is connected to the terror plot. In I think it's Myanmar, the fuel supply is running so low that drivers are waiting in lines for hours. And Kuwait had to issue an oil spill warning. This comes right after the firefighters put out a fire from the Iranian drone attack that I reported before on the giant Kuwaiti oil tanker. Despite all the chaos from the war, there is some very good news for American economy today. The United States stock market had a massive rally, gaining roughly $1 trillion in value in a single day. Financial experts say investors are feeling very hopeful right now. They are hoping that President Trump's new one-week ceasefire deadline might actually push Iran into sign a peace deal and end the fighting. As well, Trump just said that he is going to be out of there in 2 to 3 weeks. That's what he just said. Meanwhile, there was massive major No Kings protests in the US as well. Trump said, well, I might have a lot of powers, but I'm definitely no king, he said. Meanwhile, he said also that regime change is not a goal of this operation, and he says that, yeah, that's what he says. But in the meantime, I guess they're not looking for that, but it looks like the regime has changed by force. Anyway, meanwhile, back in the US, wait times at American airports finally dropped from hours down to minutes today, which is a good thing because a lot of people are traveling for Pesach. President Trump gave TSA security workers an emergency double paycheck specifically to end the weeks of travel chaos, even though the broader government shutdown is still happening. But President Trump is trying to end the government shutdown of the Homeland Security Department. We all now know that we have a new Homeland Security Secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen. He is considering calling Congress back from their 2-week vacation. They're on vacation right now for a rare special session to force a deal. Now, Florida, the government's shut down and they're on vacation. Unbelievable. Florida is officially renaming a major airport after President Donald J. Trump. Governor Ron DeSantis signed a new bill renaming the Palm Beach International Airport to President Donald J. Trump International Airport starting July 1st. Well, this didn't end there. Just hours later, President Trump shared plans for a new presidential library and museum in Miami. He's definitely leaving a lot of legacy after himself. He posted an AI-generated video on Truth Social saying the project is coming very soon. The library will be a 50-story high-rise building featuring a ballroom, a golden statue, and the Air Force One housed entirely inside the skyscraper. You'll remember the terrible day last September when conservative commentator Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah Valley University with one bullet. Police caught Tyler Robinson, the man allegedly believed to be pulling the trigger from 200 yards away. With one bullet, took his life away. Well, in a massive new development today, Robinson's lawyers filed court papers saying the fatal bullet does not actually match Robinson's file. A new report from federal weapons experts say the test was inconclusive. They could not prove that the bullet fragment found during the autopsy came from the gun dropped at the scene. Because of this mismatch, the FBI is now being forced to run emergency retests. Robinson's defense team is also claiming that the DNA found on the gun actually belongs to multiple different people, not just him. Because of this new bombshell, his lawyers are now asking the judge to delay his court hearing. They also are fighting to ban all TV cameras from the courtroom when he returns to court on April 17th. However, prosecutors do say that they are not backing down and will still seek the death penalty. They claim they have Robinson's DNA directly on the gun's trigger. They also say they have text messages where Robinson told his partner he targeted Kirk because he, quote, had enough of this hatred. Well, there you have it. The FBI is reopening a 10-year-old case about a Chinese spy who targeted Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell, who's running right now for midterm elections. FBI Director Kash Patel wants to release the old investigation files on the congressman who is currently running for governor of California. The files involve a person who officials believe was a Chinese spy who reportedly managed to gain his trust and steal U.S. secrets. Swalwell's legal team sent a cease and desist letter to Patel to try and stop the files from going public and ruining, obviously, his campaign. In Washington, Representatives Rashida Tlaib, a known Hamas sympathizer and a terrorist supporter, is trying to stop America from helping Israel. She introduced a resolution to block American support for the Israeli military operations, specifically in Lebanon. Here are 2 quick political updates today for you. Federal investigators are looking into whether New York City Councilwoman Farah Lewis and her sister took bribes from a company that runs migrant shelters. And in California, in a separate story, a major police investigation into voting ballots was just stopped. A local sheriff was investigating votes now for the midterm elections for Proposition 50, but he had to pause the investigation after the state's top lawyer stepped in. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I remember the heavy. Do you remember the heavy bombings that happened? There was a massive miracle in Bnei Brak. You remember the Iran fired ballistic missiles, and the shrapnel landed at Bnei Brak. Now, a massive piece of an Iron Dome interceptor missile fell straight into a street just as children had gone back outside to play. Miraculously, no injuries were reported. They had mamash nisim, these kids. At the end of the day, they actually dragged this piece of missile to one of their playgrounds and made the whole thing out of it. In other news, a 13-year-old girl in Melbourne, Australia is charged with 52 charges of crimes after a multi-day rampage targeting Yidden last week. Police say the teenager and 2 other girls drove a stolen black Hyundai, a Hyundai sedan, through local neighborhoods, Jewish neighborhoods. They threw eggs and shouted anti-Semitic remarks at Jews, Yidden, on the street. Things escalated on Shabbos HaGudel when the 13-year-old swerved the stolen car directly toward a group of Yidden on the sidewalk. Families barely got out of the way in time to avoid severely being hit. Also in Australia, the family of Zomi Francom, an aid worker killed in Gaza 2 years ago, is demanding the audio recording of the IDF strike. Well, the Israeli ambassador from Australia, Hillel Newman, told the family that the audio is strictly in the IDF's hands. He cannot hand it to them. Australia's most wanted criminal is dead. Now, I don't know if you know the story. Police in Victoria shot and killed Desi Freeman in a heavy gunfight. He was wanted for murdering 2 police officers last year. For 7 months, he survived off the grid in a secret camp until police found him hiding in an abandoned shipping container. President Trump is allowing a sanctioned Russian oil tanker to deliver oil to Cuba. The United States actually has a strict blockade on Cuba, banning normal trade, which is why Russian oil delivery is a big deal right now. But the White House officially gave the ship permission to go ahead for humanitarian survival. You know, the country is falling apart. And finally today, NASA has officially started the countdown for humanity's first launch to the moon in 53 years to be accurate. Now, the Artemis 2 mission will fly astronauts around the moon starting, well, tomorrow, April 1st. The launch will happen in Florida. Let's talk about Protobite. Protobite 347-354-1237. Protobite are experts when it comes to designing complicated software programming. And then you have Kliger. Kliger is there for you when you need to combine all your communications in one inbox. One inbox for all. You don't have to worry about anything. You can still continue posting status and have your WhatsApp, email, Facebook, Messenger, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, all of that in one place. For e-fax, whatever. Anything. The whole business in one inbox, less stress, less hassle, and also you can do invoicing and payments and Salesforce, sales tasks, all kind of different CRM options and integrations, tons of integrations. And the best part is that there's it doesn't cost per user. It's one fee per month, and that's it. It's a setup fee, but then it's amazing. All right, now let's talk about the next one. YS Capital Group. If you need some money, want to borrow some money? Of course you want to borrow money, 100% for an investment. I know 718-831. 2168. Arrive Express 845-622-1111 and 845-254-1111 from Monroe. You can download the app, arrivemonsi.com. It's a great app, great customer service, great taxi service. Now, so many of you have been asking me about what is going on between Pakistan and Afghanistan right now. So here's a quick update for you. The two countries are basically in an open border war. It started last month when Pakistan bombed targets inside Afghanistan, claiming they were going after terrorists. The Afghan Taliban immediately fought back and attacked Pakistani military bases. As of today, all peace attempts and ceasefires have completely failed. The two sides are firing heavy artillery at each other right across the border. The fighting is so bad that over 115,000 people have been forced to evacuate, run away from their homes. China is currently stepping in to try and help negotiate peace there. Good luck to them too. Finally, today we have a very short update on the Nancy Guthrie case as well. As you know, the 84-year-old mother of TV news anchor Savannah Guthrie was violently kidnapped from her home in Arizona 2 months ago. As of today, she is sadly still missing. A former police boss in the area just released a grim new theory. He believes Nancy may have tragically passed away from her medical issues while the kidnappers were trying to hide her in Mexico. He says this would explain why the kidnappers suddenly stopped asking the family for ransom money. Meanwhile, the local police department handling the investigation is facing a massive crisis. There are major accusations that the police corrupted and messed up the original crime scene. To make matters even worse, one of their own police officers was just arrested on a totally separate kidnapping charge. Unbelievable. Anyway, Rabbi Isai, Have yourselves a wonderful kosher and freilichen Pesach. And Hashem should help you. We should all see each other. And there's some great news. Actually, I want to mention something great that happened. I think that's a sign Mashiach is definitely coming. Something major happened yesterday in the Olam HaChasidus. The Satmar Rebbes both signed an agreement, so to speak, to the Yerusha, which is an amazing step forward. Obviously, Achdus in Klal Yisrael, which we need. We need this. Hashem, Ya'azor, Yishma v'Yatzel, L'kol ha'chayim b'nai Yisrael, daven for all of them. Pray for our brothers and sisters in Israel right now in this time of war. It should end swiftly with the Eliyahu Nivitaka coming and being Mevaser, the Basir of the Ge'ilah, and Mashiach should be here with us and take us all to Yerushalayim and Kodesh. Thank you so much. Stay informed, stay on edge. We will see each other after Pesach. Thank you.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.